With found footage getting into the mainstream media in the early 2000s, the Halloween franchise decided to get in on that action in 2002 with Halloween Resurrection. Was that really the best solution? What's up, guys, and welcome back to my Halloween film series review. Thank you so much, guys, for clicking this. I really do appreciate it. We are almost there. If you hadn't watched them, my reviews for the first 7 films are in the description below, so check those out when you can. So Halloween Resurrection tells the story of a group of people who win this contest as part of this reality internet show to spend Halloween night at the Myers home while Michael hunts them down one by one. First and foremost, never been a found footage fan. I never warmed up to it. I never cared for it. I watched the original Blair Witch Project and never cared for it. I am never, ever seeing a single Paranormal Activity movie in my life. I will take that to my grave, have that engraved on my stone. No lie. I don't care how that sounds. I just never really warmed up to it. That's never been a genre that really interested me. It's just too shaky cameras for me. And now I know a lot of people I do like that sort of stuff. But for me, no. Just no. Yes, I know, I'm too passionate. Get over it. When I heard a Halloween entry was going to get that treatment, I almost died inside. Like, literally. Then I watched it. Whew. Let's just say I'm a little relieved. But does that excuse it? No. Because sadly, that wasn't the only problem this film had. It wasn't the only dull knife in the kitchen. So before I get into all that, let's get into the positives for Halloween Resurrection. I gotta say, Brad Loree as Michael Myers, way better. He does triumph over Chris Duran in H2O. I do like the way Brad Loree played him in Resurrection. I don't really have any nitpicks as I did in H2O with Chris Duran. As awesome as that film is, and believe me, that was an awesome film. If you watch my review, again, down in the description below, you'll definitely understand my point of view. But with Brad Loree as Michael Myers in Resurrection, he was actually pretty cool. Aside from a little side scene that I will get into later, aside from that, Aces, I like Brad Loree as Michael Myers. He really did triumph over H2O. I liked his movement. I liked his physicality. He wasn't as slouchy. He wasn't as scrawny. No offense to Chris. But Brad Loree, he was decent. He was pretty decent. Not to mention his mask. There's a definite improvement over there, too, in that department. It was a better-looking mask. It didn't look cheesy. You didn't get these dumbass digital shots, which I have no idea where that came from in H2O to this day, but yeah, moving on. The eyes didn't look as bug-eyed. It didn't look as, like, it was too white in H2O. In this, they kind of added something to it that made it creepier. It looked pretty cool. It was one step up. I liked the look and feel of this film. The lighting was pretty decent. There was some great brightness and textures and colors, especially in the dark scenes, the night scenes, when the kids was around the table and lighting up the candles, and you could hear Michael's, breathing in the background as he's kind of famous for, especially in the original. I liked all that aspect of it. It made it creepier. And I liked the way it was shot. There wasn't a moment in this movie, except when it got to the found footage crap. It wasn't a moment in this movie when the normal parts of this movie looked bad. I liked the way those were shot. Unfortunately, that's all the good I can say about this movie, because this movie, it's like they took, compared to, 5 was not good, 6 was okay, H2O was awesome, and then they took another step back. They took 2 steps forward and then 1 step back, or vice versa, or whatever the hell. Halloween Resurrection felt too cash grabbish. You have this whole opening scene, which really negates H2O, especially with that awesome ending. Now, I know they had to figure out some way for Michael to come back, otherwise we wouldn't have an 8th movie at all, period. Because the way H2O ended, if you just ended with that and not known about Resurrection, that's how he died. But the way they bring him back, it's kind of lazy. It's kind of lazy. You have this whole thing to where this paramedic, after he falls off that balcony in H2O, and this, it actually shows this paramedic like just about to unmask him, and then Michael, of course, wakes up, chokes him by the neck, crushes his larynx, which is another reason why he wasn't able to speak at the end of H2O, and then dresses him up, dresses this paramedic up in the clothes that Michael had, and the mask, and Michael puts on the paramedic outfit. It seems a little bit too far out there. Now, not that I'm, degrading on what Michael could do. I'm sure he could do it, but it just seems a little too far-fetched. And that paramedic didn't look nothing like Michael's physique. It's like that whole thing in Kills, where everybody was thinking that that patient was Michael, which I'll get into later in that review. That's yet to come, but the paramedic didn't really look like him at all physically. So the way H2O played out, when you look at that whole entire movie, and then you get to that scene of H2O, the whole scene where Laurie has kidnapped Michael in the ambulance, and she crashes it, and then pins Michael, and she chops off his head. That whole entire scene, that was the paramedic. That, to me, it just seems lazy. And there's a shot where Michael has the knife and he's dressed up in the paramedic suit. He has no mask on, but it does show his face. And he's walking through the woods while everybody's like going out and looking at the accident, going to the scene. And I guess this was like right after she beheaded the paramedic, right after Laurie beheaded him. And it just shows him go in the woods. That was actually originally meant for the end of H2O. Now, to be clear, looking at the features for H2O, they actually foreseen a sequel. And one of the producers for this series, Mustafa Akkad, I believe that was his name, he's one of the producers, and he's the one that actually wrote in Michael's contract as unkillable. He can never die. And that's why they did that. That's why they wanted to make another sequel. They kind of planned like the beginning of Resurrection out without figuring out the rest of what this movie was, because I mean they knew that they were going to do a sequel back when H2O was being made back in '97. That whole thing just seems lazy, and it just from the moment Resurrection came out in the early 2000s, I was a young teen then, like early to mid-teens. I never really set right with me. But on the producer's defense, I understand. He is a likable character. Michael Myers is a likable character. The way that played out in Resurrection, it just was lazy. Nothing more I can say. It just felt like it took a huge dump on H2O, and that's just a shame, because H2O was awesome. Just totally negates everything that our awesome film said. And then you skip 3 years to where I assume it skipped 3 years, because you see Laurie in an institution where she has longer hair and she's looking at the window and waiting for Michael once again. But you do get some badassery from her, kind of like how you did in H2O. And then she's killed off, like, instantly. Never in a million years at the time of this release did I ever think that was ever going to happen. She was the symbol, aside from Dr. Loomis, aside from Donald Pleasance. Jamie Lee Curtis was the symbol, the main protagonist for this series, especially the OG series, which is why I'm so glad they brought her back from the new ones. Never in a million years that I ever thought that they would kill off, but in the filmmakers' defense, they knew that they were going to make a sequel in H2O, but Jamie Lee Curtis has already said that H2O was going to be her last one, and that the only reason she'd come back is that she was killed off the first 5 minutes. But it still doesn't really sit well with fans, especially fans that loved her, fans that loved this character, which made the rest of the movie seem kind of pointless. It's like you're already used to this whole cat and mouse scenario between Michael and Laurie of like, will they catch each other, and will Michael ever catch her, and this and that. That's what made them special. And just the fact that they were brother and sister, of course, like kind of added on to it. I don't know how much of you guys really cared about that plot line scenario, but it just the fact that Laurie became one of Michael's most worthy adversaries And just the fact, just knowing that they kill her off in the first 5 minutes of a Halloween movie, no, no, just again, it just made the movie, the rest of the movie seem lost. It just made it seem like it didn't really know what it was doing. Again, with that two steps back thing with the series.
I'll see you in hell.
And you're just standing there wondering, what now? I mean, seriously, what now? I can tell you exactly how it went down. Well, now that I finished what I started, time to go home. Oh, look, there's more people to kill. I mean, going in a new direction, I guess you can't really repeat the same things over and over, but they could have handled it a little bit differently. But again, in Jamie Lee Curtis's defense, that's the only way she'd do the movie, which I would have said, you know what, don't show up at all. We don't want you to die. Live forever. Going in a new direction, yes, it was kind of entertaining, and it was kind of intriguing, and it would have been interesting if it weren't for the, you guessed it, found footage crap. As I stated at the beginning of this review, I hate found footage. I wish that never became a thing. But as I stated before, this film isn't completely found footage, so that's one lining I can take away from this. With the transition shots, it really bugged me. It really pissed me off. Going back and forth, these kids wearing these cameras on their heads as they go into the Myers house looking for clues on why Michael's is so messed up. And it just kept on switching back and forth, back and forth. Really pissed me off. It's like a gnat at a barbecue, just bugging the hell out of me. I was sitting there, I was like, stop it. Just stop it. And like I said, with the story, it just seemed a little weak, like with the direction and all that, like especially after Laurie was killed in like the first 5 minutes, especially the way she was killed, it was just unbearable to watch. And it's just so easy. But get back to the direction, it just seemed weak. And I really feel sorry for the director, Rick Rosenthal, who is no stranger to this series. He was actually the director of one of my favorite ones, Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2. It made me feel sorry for him because it's like, what happened? Seriously, what the hell happened? It is what it is. Still, finding out that Rick Rosenthal was the director of this really gave me hope. And then I watched the movie. Yeah, I really wanted to praise this. Even after all the times that I've watched this, I still feel the same about it. This movie never really felt right. I really wanted to root for this movie. I really wanted to find some appeal. No such luck. Plus the fact that you got some abysmal characters and that you don't care about at all. Not even the main character. Like you get this whole stupid side plot thing to where you have this love triangle, internet love connection between the main character and some guy, which, why would I care about that? And not to mention the main character herself, she just seemed a little bit too calm for someone being chased by a knife-wielding maniac. A little bit too calm, just kind of unrealistic calm. There was no passion, there was no spark. It's like Bianca, and I'm not saying her last name, otherwise I will butcher it. It's like she didn't want to be there. It's like everything in this movie that she was doing felt forced. It didn't really feel that much there. It's just, you don't really care that she's the main character and she's the final girl because she doesn't give you nothing. I mean, in terms of like tenseness and just all that badassery, especially with Jamie Lee Curtis and Rachel Cadell, those girls I'll pick over any of the others in the series. But Bianca in this, no, she just didn't. She didn't do nothing. Every scene she was in, she just felt like she just had to be there. It's like she was just grabbing a paycheck and then, yep, I'm going home. Screw y'all. She brought nothing to the role. There's no fire. Again, you just don't even care that she's the main character. She's the final girl. You don't care if she survives or not because of that.
Somebody out there, please help us. Somebody please help us.
She really is a very talented actress.
And we get the most abysmal kills in a Halloween film. And that was because of that dumbass found footage crap kept on getting in the way. Every time Michael would kill somebody, the kids would be wearing those cameras on their heads. And it would always transition to those stupid shots, and it would make the kills look so cheesy and just not interesting. There was not a single kill other than a decapitation. I do admit that was cool. But other than that, there was no creativity there. Mostly because of the found footage, but all it was mostly was just stabby stab. There was more creative death scenes in the other Halloween combined as compared to this. Like in 5, I wasn't that much of a fan of how the house looked in Resurrection. Now, guys, I know continuity waved bye-bye to us long ago. It just sailed away and never to return. But I wasn't the biggest fan of the house in this one. Now, granted, they didn't go all out like they did in 5. The award for piss-poor presentation of the house still goes to that film. But still, is it so much to ask for just some effort? Is it that hard to just pop in the first one and take notes and just jot down, oh, okay, it's just a simple house. You don't have to go overboard. Which is what I feel like they kept on doing throughout, ever since 5. Even though I didn't really mention the house in the last few. Still, it just, the house in Resurrection, I couldn't ignore it because like the entire thing was based in the Myers house. Wasn't the biggest fan. Did it piss me off as much as 5? No, and I might sound pissed off, but I'm just passionate. And there are several things that happened in this movie that involved Busta Rhymes' character. So much so that it kind of made this movie a little bit of a comedy. There was a couple of scenes involving Busta Rhymes. One in particular where he was going around the house dressed as Michael Myers. He had the mask on, he had the knife. I assume it was a fake knife, I don't know, in his case. And with the overalls and everything. And he was walking around, he came across the corner, and you could see the real Michael Myers enter from a door behind him. And then he turns around and gets freaked out, and he starts cussing him out. He starts smack talking him, thinking he's somebody else. Telling him to go back to work, go help this guy out. I left the back door unlocked so you can take your ass out, and this and that. And when Busta Rhymes was yelling at him, he actually turns around. Michael himself actually turns around.
You need to get the hell out of here. Go on, scoot, skedaddle. Get the fuck out of Dodge.
Really? I mean, what? That just took the cake right there. I was like this the whole time. I was trying not to laugh, but I couldn't help it. That topped it. Plus, in the third act, you have Busta Rhymes doing nothing but karate kicking Michael, which is something that is heavily, heavily criticized on this movie. I mean, you have Busta Rhymes karate kicking him and smack talking him, busting down doors, and saying all these cheesy lines like out of some cheesy 80s action flick. It got really ridiculous, almost to the point where it made this movie so bad that it was enjoyable. And I don't know about you guys, but that's kind of how I perceived this. Some of the parts in this was just so funny, it was laughable. Unlike in 5, where it was just stupid. Resurrection, it just took it to that kind of level to where, wow, this movie is just that bad with all these lines and karate kicking and Busta Rhymes talking smack and all that. You just gotta laugh at it. You just got to laugh. And that's definitely the vibe I got. And it did make me laugh. I chuckled a couple of times. Just when you think you've seen it all, you've seen it all.
So you want to be on Dangertainment? Let's see what you got.
After defeating Michael in the most laziest way, he does like one last line after he busts through the door. Oh man, at this point, I think that this movie was kind of in competition of 5 because it seemed like a comedy at some point, but at least with Resurrection, it had some more creepier scenes, and it seemed like it was taking itself a little more seriously until that third act, until Busta Rhymes started going nuts.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
Like I said, the film is almost so bad that it's kind of funny and hilarious. I didn't really like the score. You know, in H2O, you have that slashy Scream / Halloween score that just really made it awesome. Made the whole experience for you just really good. You don't get that much. Other than the beginning scene in Resurrection where you've got the cool Halloween theme, the rest of it doesn't really hold that much merits. It doesn't really give you that much in texture, and just, it doesn't really make you feel that much. The theme was fine, but you only hear that at like the beginning of this film. But the rest of it, like with the tent scenes and all that, it's just not the same. Maybe that's because I'm coming off from binge watching all of these and then how awesome H2O was, but it's just, in Resurrection, it just doesn't seem as good, like with the score and all that, in terms of just tensity and emotion. In the end, guys, the film wasn't as enjoyable as I had hoped it would be. Even after all this time since its release, I'm still caught off guard. So Halloween Resurrection, what was your thoughts on it? Were you a fan? Did you find anything of great value? Did you find anything of great entertainment value? Or was this as dull as a kitchen knife being used 1 billion times over? Leave me a comment down below and give me your thoughts. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment, and share the big 4. And make sure to click that bell icon so you don't miss a thing. And I will see you on the next one. Peace.